Oh, Sonic, your track record has been so up and down and all around that it's hard to tell if anyone will ever truly respect you again. Can't fault Sega for trying though, as this year has given us both a classic Sonic game and a modern Sonic game, both celebrating Sonic and both trying to prove that Sonic is still good. Mania proves that with talented people, 2D Sonic still works, and works great at that. Now we see if the 3D games can still keep up in this day and age. This review is only for Forces, as it is the bigger game, and because it needs to work harder than Mania to show that Sonic still works in this modern age. So, let's get to it and see if it does. The game starts off with Sonic trying to stop Eggman's most recent invasion, when all of a sudden, familiar enemies from Sonic's history seem to have returned and teamed up to defeat him. Not only that, but a new enemy, named Infinite, has appeared and manages to completely destroy Sonic in a fight. With Sonic captured and out of commission, Eggman proceeds to conquer 99% of the world. It is now up to the Resistance, led by Knuckles, and a new recruit to rescue Sonic and defeat Eggman and Infinite. I'll give the story this: it has more of an impact on everything compared to recent Sonic games while not being as overblown as the earlier modern games. The cutscenes are actually fairly cool, despite the odd frame rate. I always think that these characters could fight, but besides the odd fighting game or odd spin-off, it's usually a homing attack, but here, characters are punching and kicking and clashing all about. It's cool! Now to tear apart the rest of the story, as it is pretty bad. Just starting off, the story moves way too fast. Sonic is defeated and we move to 6 months later. How about showing us how Eggman took over? Make us feel hopeless so that when there is a ray of hope, we actually feel it. Or at least show us the cool bits where Eggman vaporizes people. That got dark a little too fast, didn't it? We are informed that Eggman has been torturing Sonic for these 6 months and plans to banish him to the moon. What? Okay, the torturing I can understand, but banish to the moon? How about kill the rodent who's been a pain in your ass from day fucking one? And when we do rescue Sonic, he doesn't have a scratch on him and is cracking jokes. Eggman must suck at torture. Then Classic Sonic comes in, just to appease classic fans. Seriously, he has no reason to be in this game, but Sonic Team probably just wanted him in to get older fans to play, and to link to Mania and to reuse the assets from Generations so they have less work to do, I guess. I'm convinced that Sega only let Mania be a thing to advertise Forces, despite the former being better than the latter. And the biggest problem with the story? Infinite. He was hyped beyond belief and his identity was kept a mystery. So, who is he? But if you waste your time playing the Shadow DLC and reading the comics, you'll find out that he is no one special. He's a member of a mercenary group that works for Eggman, and Shadow whooped his ass. That's our huge and mysterious villain, everybody! No huge reveal, no sad backstory, no personality to speak of at all even. Nothing to have him seem a memorable villain to be remembered fondly and eventually be the next nostalgic boss a few years down the road, if Sonic games aren't dead by then. He even goes out like a bitch. Our secondary villain, everybody! Even if he isn't special, this should all be explained in-game. I hate when supplemental material is used for important plot points. Supplementals should be just that, a supplement, not mandatory. The story has cool cutscenes, occasionally, but the story itself is trash. I'm not expecting Oscar stuff here, but I am expecting competence. The graphics, however, are a positive. This game looks great. The character models haven't changed much in the past few years, but the environments, particle effects, and background details are all really pretty. Some of the levels look drop-dead gorgeous, such as Modern Sonic's run through the Death Egg, looking fantastic, and the Metropolis is bright and incredibly clean. You'll hear about this level a bit later, for better or worse. The backgrounds usually also have a lot going on in them. There are probably a ton of little details you won't notice in the environments, but it just helps in making the game look even better. All this and it still runs smoothly at 60 frames per second. Take notes, Adabat. The gameplay is split into 4 sections: Classic Sonic, Modern Sonic, the Avatar, and a mix of Sonic and the Avatar. Let's go in order and start with Classic Sonic. He controls just as you would expect. He can jump, spin dash, and now also has the drop dash from Mania. His levels are the most platforming focused. While his control isn't awful, it does feel a lot worse than in Generations. It feels a lot slower this time around. In Generations you had a great mix of speed and platforming and both felt great, while in this his jumping control feels off and he is a lot slower. At full speed, Classic Sonic moves like molasses. Well, as much molasses as Sonic can get. Every time I try to make a jump, even timing it right and being as precise as possible, I either overshot it or I undershot it. It just feels less fine-tuned. Plus, while I know that Generations had this problem too, it feels worse here, especially after Mania. Classic Sonic has no momentum. There have been so many times where I'm at full speed and I can't make it up a tiny hill. Since his speed is so slow and gravity doesn't seem to work for him, it causes many moments where I either have to back up to a speed booster or suffer looking at the weird spin dash animation. In every other game, the spin dash looks like it's charging up to make Sonic blast off, but here, it looks like a picture of a blue circle kicking up dust. So, Classic Sonic has pretty wonky controls that hinder his gameplay a lot. Modern Sonic has similar controls to what he had in the last few games, not counting Boom and Lost World. You can jump, double jump, home in on enemies, use a boost in the ground or in the air for great speed, slide, and stomp. Modern Sonic stages are all about speed. Again, the control isn't god-awful, but it does feel a lot worse than in Generations. Don't worry, I can't use the Generations argument for the next character. Anyway, Sonic just feels really slippery, especially when just slightly moving at high speeds, and the sidestep maneuver doesn't feel as useful. I rarely used it, and when I did, it didn't seem to add much to levels or bosses. We had Sonic control perfectly in the last two boost-related games, why does he feel so much more janked this time? To be fair though, they did try to fix the boost to win in this game. Yes, you still need to boost a lot, but it's a little more difficult to get boost muted this time around, and some levels are made to where if you boost too often, you won't be able to avoid pitfalls too easily. Plus, boosting in the air while going downhill is a lot better in this game, and you actually float for a bit, pretty much allowing Sonic to fall in style. Boosting the air in previous games was helpful, but you sank like a rock after the initial boost. In this, it actually raises you in the air a little bit. It is honestly cool and fun in the rare times you can pull it off. However, why did they get rid of the drift mechanic? It could have made for some cool set pieces that were actually playable, and it really would have helped in not falling off so much in Metropolis. It really makes no sense why it's gone. So Modern Sonic has pretty wonky controls as well, despite previous games not having this issue. The Avatar is the new playable character with the most potential, and it kind of lives up to them, but isn't close to amazing. It controls surprisingly similar to Modern Sonic. You have a jump, you have a homing leg attack, but a bit slower and has less flow, as well as slides and stomps, and I found out where the drift went. Instead of boosting, you get a weapon. They are functionally similar to the boost, but can vary and have different functions, like say a flamethrower, or a lightning whip, or a Giga Drill Break. Each weapon also has a second function, so variety is utilized very well, and are pretty much the concept of Sonic and Black Knight done right. The platforming also flows the best thanks to the grapple function. Not only does it allow you to kill enemies, but it can also be used to platform thanks to some conveniently placed grapple points. So the precision platforming feels a little smoother thanks to that, and makes you feel a bit like Spider-Man, so that's always nice. But platforming is still an issue as the Avatar's jumps is really floaty, so it can be a problem on figuring out where exactly the character will land. Combat is a joke as well. Seeing as how the weapons annihilate everything instantly, and due to all the pretty effects going on all at once, it can be hard to see what's going on when using a weapon. So the Avatar has cool gameplay elements, but still a bit wonky. The last gameplay style is minor, but still prevalent, that being playing as Modern Sonic and the Avatar at the same time. Not gonna lie, the first time you play this, it can be pretty hype. Not to mention switching between the two is really fluid. I'm honestly surprised how seamless the switch is. However, the problems of both characters carry over to this playstyle as well. Notice I'm using the word wonky a lot, because it is. So having wonky control in a speed/precision based platformer, huh? No wonder Super Mario Odyssey is getting so much praise right now. Just for a quick mention, when you get a hit and lose rings, you lose all rings. No matter how many you have, all gone. And you can't recollect them. Imagine how infuriating that is, especially on the last boss. The enemies are also a joke. Enemies in games are supposed to be an obstacle to prevent you from advancing and to be a threat that you need to figure a way around. Here, unless you actively try to get hit, they're more or less non-existent. It's sad. Well, at least I didn't encounter many glitches, which is something I can't say for other people who played this game. The level design. Oh boy. A lot of Sonic games have branching paths depending on how you play, and those that don't are still a blast to play. In this game, a couple of stages have slight branching paths, but most stages are just not well hidden straight lines. That's the design in a nutshell. Some of the stages are fun, but with the exception of one, they are all lacking in creativity. The one that does involves infinite interfering with your level, and while it has problems, it's still great. The rest are up and down, quality-wise. Classic Sonics are also so basic that it just shows how little they cared at all. The bosses are pretty much insulting. The first two, they're pretty basic, but they're fun and easy to help introduce concepts and ease players in, so in that regard they work well. After them though, the difficulty does not ramp up, and the boss fight design is so minimal. Sonic bosses have always been hit or miss, but these are like baby's first Sonic game. Easy and basic. The only boss that is really a challenge is the final boss, and only because it is annoying and cheap in some cases. Hell, we're missing 2 whole boss fights that were teased, Shadow and Chaos. Shadow, maybe I can understand, but Chaos should have been a full boss fight. And then there's Infinite. If anyone watching this has seen either my Rival Fights video or Devil May Cry 3 review, the concept of a perpetual rival you fight throughout the game is something I love. Here though, they screwed it up too. Like I said before, the first one is an introduction, so the difficulty and lack of uniqueness is slightly passable. The second fight is even easier, and even less creative. The last time you fight Infinite, the secondary villain of the game, it is a literal reskin of the Metal Sonic boss fight. You couldn't even give us an over-the-top and satisfying end fight? How could they screw up so bad? The music, however, is really solid. Thank God. Another positive to talk about. It feels like it's been forever. Whew. Even some of the weaker tracks are still pretty catchy. I feel that the Avatar character, surprisingly enough, has the best stage music. I always enjoyed when songs in games are accompanied by vocals. They just feel more complete and are easier to sing along to. But even the songs in the game that don't have vocals are still good. Here are just a few examples. Of course, the main theme is great as well.
Together we can show the world what we can do. You are next to me and I'm next to you. Pushing on through until the battle's won. No one's gonna give nothing to us. Into each other we put our trust. Standing united after the fight. All alone we will never be. The two of us are holding the key. We see today a world we couldn't see. Before I say goodbye to you, one more last fist bump.
As well as
In the sharpest of blades, I'll cut you down in a second. Cause I was born in this pain. It only hurts if you let it. So if you think you can take me, then you should go and forget it. And after all this time, you're back for more. I won't stop until they know my name. So I'll take what's mine and start this war. I'm coming at you like a tidal wave.
The Edge. So thank God this section was not screwed up and stays in line with Sonic's reputation when it comes to music. This game has no real post-game content. Sure, there are some bonus stages, episode Shadow, the Red Rings, creating multiple avatars, etc. But unless you love this game, there's no reason to continue playing this game after you've beaten it once. There aren't even post-game moves you can fool around with in levels like in Generations where you had Classic Sonic and the homing attack and stuff like that. Also, why is Super Sonic a goddamn patch? He should be in the base game. I will say though that the middle portion of this game is the most fun part of the game. I actually enjoyed it. However, the beginning of the game is weak, and the end of the game is weak. Supposedly, a younger team worked on this game, which would explain a lot, but I'm not giving them a pass. The younger team should be focused on working on spin-offs until they've had enough experience to work on a mainline game. This is an anniversary game. You should have people who know what they're doing, right? Overall, it's just incredibly average. It's not the worst Sonic game, definitely not the next 06, but it's not a great Sonic game either. It's just there. There are some aspects that help it not be a completely average game, but they don't help all that much. I give this game a 5.5 out of 10. Join the uprising.
To him again. Alright guys, it's time we cleaned up the mess that Eggman left this world in. And I'm not talking about those illusions he dreamed up for us. We need to fix the real world we all live in.
True that.
Come on, let's go!
Yeah!
The gameplay is spit already.
The Avatar is the new playable character with the most potential, and it kind of lives up to them, but isn't close to amazing. It controls surprisingly similar to modern Sonic. You have a jump. You have a homing-like attack, but a bit slower and has less float as well as slides and stops, and I found out where the drift went. Instead of boosting, you get a weapon. They are functionally similar to a boost, but can vary and have different function, like say a flamethrower, or a lighting whip or Giga Drill Break. Each weapon also has a second function, so variety is utilized very well and are pretty much the concept of Sonic and the Black Knight done right. The platforming also flows the best thanks to the grapple function. Not only does it allow you to kill enemies, but it can also be used to platform thanks to some conveniently placed grapple points. So the precision platforming feels a little smoother thanks to that, and it makes you feel like Spider-Man a bit, so that's always nice. But platforming is still an issue as the Avatar's jump is really floaty, so it can be a problem on figuring out where exactly the character will land. Combat is a joke as well, seeing as how the weapons annihilate everything instantly, and due to all of the pretty effects going on all at once, it can be hard to see what is going on when using a weapon. So, the Avatar has cool gameplay elements but still is a bit wonky.
I think I found my replacement. The level design. Oh boy. A lot of Sonic games have branching paths depending on how you play, and those that don't still are the bosses are pretty much insulting. The first two, they're pretty basic, but they're fine and easy to help introduce concepts and ease players in, so in that regard it's fine. After them though, the difficulty does not ramp up, and the boss fight design is... damn it. Okay, let me put that on vibrate.